Exactly. Here's my problem: is I know songs, but I don't know bands. So I sort of knew it was like maybe Nirvana, Pearl Jam type thing, but I couldn't peg it.
Right, because you were in elementary school when this came out.
Yeah, so young. So young.
I'm being accused, falsely accused. I would like representation. They're rigging it against me.
So we got a big final hour. Just had a chance to talk to Jen, see Hartley, or new baby.
Chance to talk to Jen,
see Hartley, or new baby. And that was wonderful.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so happy to be here.
A lot of news. The president has been cracking down, talking about it, and then acting on it, going back to his campaign when he talked, then acting as president, and pushing forward on this issue, and trying to keep track of where the Democrats have been. First, they said it was a manufactured crisis. Then they said it was a humanitarian crisis. So they admitted it was a crisis. They've never quite said that it was a national security crisis. Now you have Elizabeth Warren, one of the leading candidates for the Democrats in the 2020 sweepstakes, saying this is a Trump-made crisis. So now let's blame the president when what he and his team are at least trying to do is, on all fronts, try anything and everything to secure the border.
She's also saying that if Donald Trump goes ahead and continues to build the wall, which, by the way, he says he wants to have 450 miles completed by the end of this year, that if she is elected, she's actually going to tear the wall down.
Yes, that's exactly
a new Berlin Wall kind of.
That's exactly right. Not only are they not talking serious about the border, they want to take it down. They want to decriminalize it. They want to give away all sorts of benefits and education and loans to illegals. They, of course, support sanctuary cities. So they're on the opposite planets on this particular issue. But to your point, Ed, you made a great point. The administration's trying with any tool they can to bring along border enforcement. They're fighting the courts in order to get the border wall that they want, and they're trying to find the bodies to man the border because, of course, the funding hasn't been there for that as well. So we had Ken Cuccinelli on the program earlier. Here's the acting deputy secretary for the DHS. And a new idea is being floated by the administration of potentially Interior Department law officers, park rangers, could end up helping with Border Patrol. Here's how he explained it.
President Trump has been aggressive with every legal lever he can pull. Doesn't mean we pull them all at the same time. Because the Department of Interior land covers well over a third of the whole border, that gives a new batch of people with arrest powers covering that whole third of the border, which both backs up Border Patrol and allows them to be more flexible with their own manpower. Border Patrol has gotten better and better and better at that. They operate on intel and make adjustments on the fly. It will be very helpful to them to have law enforcement partners covering another third of the border to back them up.
So there you got one side talking about how can we get manpower to the border.
Right.
And you got the other side, to Rachel's point a moment ago, that's saying we'll tear down the wall if the wall is built, or we'll abolish ICE if we get the chance to.
Forgot that one.
And all kinds of other things that would sort of tear apart the president's agenda.
Well, part of why they want to bring the park rangers is if you talk to Border Patrol, they'll tell you we just don't have enough people. So one of the things that the cartels and the criminal gangs will do is use illegal immigrants as a decoy. So they'll send them over, so the Border Patrol will go over and take those people, and then the cartels will bring in the drugs to another point just, down the way, and there's not enough people to secure the whole area. So that's also part of what they want to do, but it's absolutely outrageous for Elizabeth Warren, if she ever went to the border and talked to Border Patrol, to say, she wants to tear down this wall, which, maybe she wants to be the next Ronald Reagan, I don't know. But it's a weird thing to do if you've actually been to the border and you can see that there are areas that they actually need more people and actually need physical
They don't
barriers.
go. And if she went to the border, as Ken Cuccinelli pointed out, 40% of the border land is controlled by the Interior Department.
That's right.
National parks. So by reallocating some of these people to free up the Border Patrol, it's yet another way this administration hopes they can address this issue.
Well,
Keep their promise.
that's been playing out. The president's also been involved in this big battle that now has led to maybe some officials within the Navy, from the Secretary of the Navy, other Navy officials, to threaten to resign potentially, to push back on the Commander-in-Chief after he pardoned a couple of Army folks, and then restored the rank of Navy Chief Petty Officer Eddie Gallagher. It's a case you've been following closely. And now the Commander-in-Chief is saying, no, you're not going to discipline him. You're not going to take away his Navy SEAL Trident. In fact, you're going to listen to the Commander-in-Chief.
Yes, and the end of that tweet on Wednesday that he put out said, we're not getting rid of Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher's Trident. Get back to business. Well, somehow inside the Department of the Navy, they interpreted that as go forward with the board that will strip him of his Trident. And as a result...
Bureaucratic
maneuvers, especially by the Secretary of the Navy, to continue this process. Well, the New York Times looked into this story. Here's the headline. Navy is said to proceed with disciplinary plans against Edward Gallagher. And Richard Spencer, who's the Navy Secretary, has taken a lot of heat for this because initially he's trying to say good order and discipline says we have to continue with the process. Well, now he's walking that back a bit and saying, wait, maybe good order and discipline means following commander's intent and actually doing it. Here's what he said yesterday.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm still here. I did not threaten to resign. But let us just say that we're here to talk about external threats, and Eddie Gallagher is not one of them.
Is the board going to go ahead on December 2nd? If you were to receive the order, what would the response be?
If the president requests to stop the process stops. Good order and discipline is also obeying orders from the president of the United States.
Sir, has the president explained to you his rationale behind restoring Chief Gallagher's rank?
No.
Maintaining his pin?
No, he doesn't have to. I do not interpret what the president does. I do what he says.
Yeah, a lot of
You
people
should have done that at the beginning.
Well, exactly. People raising eyebrows at that statement. Okay, it's quite clear what the president wants. His his intent is clear. If he wants him to maintain his trident, he has the prerogative to do so as the commander-in-chief. And he wants to send a message to other warfighters that I will have your back when you make tough calls.
You know, it's just interesting to me because, you know a lot more about the military than I do.
Family is going to make his debut. Not a new anchor, not a new correspondent. Jen, her husband, and their new baby, Hartley.
You never saw this kind of public sort of, pushing back.
Instead, you saw in the ranks clemency for Bradley Manning. We were trading terrorists for Bo Bergdahl.
So why are you seeing this now? I mean, I know he walked it back, but it's clear that he made some indication to the New York Times.
Because prosecutors make entire careers by trying to throw guys like Eddie Gallagher in jail. Because prosecutors, that's how they get promoted. And then they get invested in the system, and they miss the view of the guys actually on the ground. So we asked Eddie Gallagher, Chief Petty Officer, earlier on the program at 7:30, what he thought of how he's being treated in this process. Here's what he said.
This is all about ego and retaliation. This has nothing to do with good order and discipline. They could have taken my trident at any time they wanted. Now they're trying to take it after the president restored my rank. I just want to retire peacefully with all the honors that I've earned, get back to my family, and I don't know how many times I've thanked the president. He keeps stepping in and doing the right thing, and I want to let him know that the rest of the SEAL community is not about this right now. They all respect the president, and what the Admiral is doing, showing complete insubordination, is not the good example of good order and discipline.
Not a good example, he says.
We'll see how this plays out. He reports to duty again tomorrow. The board would be on December 2nd. Will he keep his trident? Will the commanders listen? We shall see.
Well, keep us posted. Great interview. All right, well, we're going to turn now to your headlines, starting with a Fox.
Something to make fun of on the other side, and they did that last night. Watch.
I've been accused of being overambitious, right? I got mom hosting Thanksgiving energy. I promise dinner will be ready if you just get out of the kitchen and stop asking questions. This Thanksgiving, I'll be cooking my specialty, the food of my ancestors. Should I say it? I'm going to say maize.
I was the first heart attack patient to show up to the emergency room in a city bus.
I see the faces you all make when I talk. You're scared. Scared I'll say something off color, or even worse, on color. Hi, guys. I'm billionaire Tom Steyer.
Did somebody say billionaire?
Donald Trump doesn't want me to be the nominee. Vladimir Putin doesn't want me to be the nominee. Nobody in America wants me to be the nominee. But I am confident that I can win the election in 2016.
Wait, so that was Woody Harrelson as the vice president.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Will Ferrell was back too.
That's Tom Steyer. Yeah.
And Woody's smile, he's just got that winning smile after he gives those lines. It was really funny. For once, SNL was funny.
It was going on for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And they had a little Andrew Yang appearance there. You had Tulsi Gabbard appearance. They made fun of Amy Klobuchar always looks nervous, when she's talking, even if she's not. She's shaking. Her hair made an appearance, shaking.
There's Rachel Maddow.
I mean, they went one by one by one. And then, of course, they made fun of Kamala Harris and all the viral moments she tries to create. She goes, and also, what's his name? Well, there's Pete Buttigieg right there, who said that's his suit from his first communion.
President calls him Alfred E. Newman.
I know, right?
He's not wrong. And even Cory Booker made an appearance, and he said, insert canned joke now.
Yeah.
I mean, it writes itself. Finally, they're writing about it.
Yeah, well, SNL might be the only people who watched that debate.
That's
no
true.
one else did.
Ratings were a little lower.
Yeah.
We're just, after a full day of impeachment, let me watch more of the circus. Not happening. All right, well, the Steelers quarterback fined $50,000 for his role in a vicious brawl with the Cleveland Browns.
Plus, 2 NFL teams reportedly interested in Anthem Nealer, Colin Kaepernick. 2 former NFL players weigh in coming up.
And a family pushing for answers after a college freshman found dead after leaving a frat party. Now his heartbroken parents want the truth. They join us next. It's a heartbreaking story as a Cornell University freshman is mysteriously found dead after going to a frat party. Antonio Cialis went to the party on October 24th. 2 days later, his body was found. Now his parents are obviously demanding answers. They're offering $10,000 for information on the case, and we want to bring some attention to it. Antonio's mother, Flavia Cialis, his father, John Cialis, and their attorney, David Bianchi, are here now live. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with the parents if you want to jump in. Tell us how you found out about this and what you know.
The police called us that afternoon where they found him, and they told us the news that they have found the body, and we were just hoping that it was not him, and they let us know that after that they had identified his body. He had all his belongings, except for his phone.
Well, we're so sorry for your loss, John. Was there any sense, did the police tell you that it was a hazing incident? What circumstances did they tell you?
Well, we didn't get any indication from the police, but subsequently from him appearing at the party and some communications with the fraternity indirectly, we feel that it's something happened that since he was on a special list for invite and so forth, that we think that it may be involved in some type of fraternity event.
Right. Okay, well, let me first read what I'll bring your attorney in, but Cornell University, the president put out a statement. The investigation into Antonio's tragic death continues. Regarding Greek life, I will be announcing a set of additional reforms to Greek life at Cornell before the end of the semester. So, David, as the family's attorney, that statement seems pretty paltry on the face of just this vague idea. What answers do you need to get, and what are you going to do to get them?
We want to know why he died and who was with him when he died. We've learned a few things here very recently. We know that he was found in an area where the person who knew him best at Cornell said he never would have gone by himself, and he never would have even been able to find it. We know that on the Friday when he was missing, they didn't find him until Saturday. One of the fraternity officers called over to the dormitory where Antonio lived and told the person who answered the phone, if anyone asks, do not say that he came to the fraternity house.
Wow.
We know that his cell phone is missing. When they found him, he had his wallet, but the phone was gone, and we know he used the phone at the fraternity house. So who has the phone?
Have you been able to go through, even though you don't have the phone, have you obviously gone to the service provider to find out who he was texting with?
Yes, we have, and I have that information. So we believe that what happened to Antonio after he left the fraternity house was an extension of what was going on in the fraternity house, which Cornell has already acknowledged was an unauthorized party where they were illegally serving alcohol to these young freshmen and getting them drunk.
Now, you can see the tip hotline. You can either call or text 607-280-5102. In the 30 seconds I have, I would like to invite the parents. What do you want everyone to remember about Antonio?
He was not only a wonderful son, he was a bright scholar, he was an athlete, he was someone that could have definitely made a big impact in our communities.
And we would like, at this time of Thanksgiving, that since everyone's going back to their families, that the members of this fraternity, that the parents talk to their sons and ask them if they were at that party, if they have any information, and to contact us so that it help us out.
We want to help you in that effort. We wish you well. We certainly hope that you find at least some peace this Thanksgiving. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead. She lost her police officer father as a First Lady Melania Trump will help welcome this 23-foot Douglas fir from Pennsylvania. The tree will be delivered by a horse-drawn carriage before sitting in the White House's Blue Room. And next, the president spending his holiday at his new home. The president hosting a homecoming rally in Florida this very Tuesday. It'll be his first event in the Sunshine State since he changed his residency from New Yorker to Floridian. And of course, Thursday is Turkey Day, and that means it's time for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now in its 93rd year, it's expected to be watched by more than 50 million people. Pete?
Thank you, Ed. All right, a touching tribute to a fallen officer. Denver, this story is heartwarming, but having a dance with your father is something you always wanted, and is a meaningful moment for anybody. But in that moment when you were surprised that 7 of his fellow officers were there to stand with you, what did that mean to you?
Oh, it meant everything. I think that's something that every little girl dreams about at her wedding, and it was something that was really hard to think about not being able to do. I was really happy to be able to do it with my mom, but to be able to have that moment with all my dad's friends and fellow officers was pretty awesome.
So, Courtney, we're looking at some of the pictures of you on your wedding day. I have to first say, you are the most beautiful bride. Just gorgeous pictures. Jeff, you had the opportunity to really step in for one of your brothers in arms. How did that feel? And did you say anything to Courtney? What did it mean to you to be able to fill in for your friend?
Well, like Courtney said, it meant the world to us as much as it meant to her. You know, we all work together, and it is a true brotherhood. And to be able to be there for her when Donnie was not able to. Myself and the other officers just told her how proud we are and that her dad is with her, always watching. And we always are there for her, too.
Man, there's no doubt he was watching. Courtney, tell us about your father, Donnie, if you would.
He was probably the brightest soul that you will ever know. He was super funny. He could make anybody laugh. His spirit was just contagious. He was very generous. He would do anything for anybody right off the street. He's pretty amazing.
This must have been an amazing moment for your mom as well. If you were planning on walking down the aisle with her, and two officers with you, but you had no idea, as we mentioned, that you were going to do this dance. What was the immediate reaction? I mean, was it like, surprise?
It was shock and a little bit of dread because I knew how emotional it was going to be. But like I said, it ended up being really, really cool.
Jeff, absolutely. Jeff, I mean, Donnie gave his life in the line of duty. You still serve in the Denver Police Department. And why do you put that uniform on every day?
Just like Donnie did, and anybody that dons that uniform, you know, we put it on to help people and to serve the community. We all know when we walk out the door, we may not come back, and we sign up for that. But our kids and family don't, and that's why we try and be there for them if something like this happens. Donnie was an amazing partner, an amazing friend, and people from the community left and right come up to me when they see me and tell me stories about when they spent time with him. So Courtney definitely had the best dad ever.
Yeah. Well, you took a moment that could have been bittersweet, that in many ways still was bittersweet, but made it into a happy one. And we're so grateful that you're here to share that whole story with the entire nation. Yeah. And we're so grateful for your service. And Courtney, the family serves along with the officer, so we thank you for the ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely. Jeff, thank you so much. Courtney as well. God bless your father. I know he's watching and quite proud of his beautiful bride. Thank you so much for joining us on Fox.
Take care.
The Steelers quarterback fined $50,000 for his role in the vicious brawl with the Cleveland Browns. And two NFL teams reportedly interested in anthem kneeler Colin Kaepernick. Two former NFL players weigh in, plus their football Sunday picks. Coming up next.
Boy, he's really a young man going on a big mission to help our nation's heroes. Just 8 years old, as I said, Tyler Stallings is his name. He started creating care packages for homeless vets when he was only 4. Now, he's raised more than $50,000.
The Pint-Sized Patriot joined us earlier, encouraging everyone to lend a helping hand. Take a look.
No matter if you're young or old, you have a lot of money or not much money, you can start anytime.
Can start anytime.
What a great message.
By the way, I got a text from a friend of mine who says up in Wisconsin, she said she has already donated to that campaign. So he's already making more money for his cause. Tyler says he decided to help after watching a video about homeless veterans with his mom.
All right, folks, it's on the Fox and Friends website right now. We got to at least double that total because he's a great young man, and that was a great story. Pete?
I wonder, what are you doing with your 8-year-old?
Yeah, totally.
They did something right there. All right, Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph fined $50,000 for a recent brawl on the field when he tried to rip off the helmet of Browns defensive end Myles Garrett after a hard tackle. Garrett, in return, yanked off Rudolph's helmet and bashed his head with it. Garrett has been suspended indefinitely, is now accusing Rudolph of using a racial slur during the altercation. Here to weigh in, former NFL players Eric Coleman and Sean James. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Thanksgiving's almost here, which means lots of football. We're going to talk about an interesting anniversary of Thanksgiving football here before we're done. But what do you make of this? It seems like only these two players are going to know what happened precisely. How do we break this down?
Well, first of all, it's a shame. It's a shame the whole thing happened and that it escalated to the point where someone was ripping off helmets and using them as weapons. When I think about Mason Rudolph getting fined, I thought that was appropriate. He was one of the people that started the fight. I'm not saying that he's a villain. I'm not saying he's a victim, but he did play a part in it. And, as far as a racial slur, I've been called a racial slur on the field, and I went up in arms. It was very frustrating. It was disappointing. I told my teammates about it, and that was the one question that I had was I didn't hear any teammates say that he said that coming off the field, and that would be one of the first things out of my mouth if someone called me a slur.
Well, that's where people are kind of looking sideways at this, Sean, and wondering, is that what really happened? Because it's not initially how it was described. Myles Garrett didn't initially say it was as a racial slur, so now talking about it now makes people wonder, is that what really happened?
Yeah, I think when you started to see the money that he might lose, it might have been an option to bring up something like that. Not to say that it did happen. I think as players from high school to college, these are the things that you have to control yourself with and not get emotional with. To Eric's point, if it's not been said around the locker room, no one really talked about it. When something like that usually happens when it's racial, we usually collectively say, hey, this is what's going on out in the field, and we take care of it collectively.
Teammates would back them up.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, another topic which has been in the news is Colin Kaepernick. He had the workout scheduled with the NFL. He decided it wasn't to his liking. He moved it to an Atlanta high school about 60 miles away. Well, now there are reports that 2 NFL teams might be interested in him. His attorney is saying that. It's just so much ambiguity in this. Why did he move it? Our team's interested. We don't know what the teams are. Do you think Colin Kaepernick comes back to the NFL?
I definitely think that he has the talent and skill set to come back to the NFL. It's all going to weigh on him. If he's willing to kind of conform in some ways to the ways of the NFL. I know that things were thrown off when he took the workout, moved it to a different location. That makes things different. As players, when we have tryouts, we typically don't get a couple of days notice. We're usually notified on a Monday, and you're working out on Tuesday, and that's it. If you want to play, then you go work out. But with this situation, it was kind of different. I definitely hope that he gets in the NFL. I hope that he plays because he's definitely physically has the ability to make an impact.
Sean, you look at the abilities. He was a dynamic quarterback, even if he tailed it off eventually later on. But you look at the circus that came with that tryout. Do you want that in your locker room?
I think at the end of the day, it's the NFL sandbox. They get to not only control the rules, but they get to decide who gets to play in it. And what we need to realize is that how did Colin Kaepernick become Colin Kaepernick, the National Football League? How did Colin Kaepernick be able to create a protest, the National Football League? So at the end of the day, we're employees. And I've always said if your name is not on the front of the check and you're signing on the back, you have to fall in line in certain situations like that. And I don't think any player out there doesn't think that he has the ability to play, but I think, as Eric said, you have to conform to certain rules. This is a big situation that I think there was a lot of risk for the NFL to play with. I thought after 3 years that he would calm down and really say, okay, this is what I want to do. But I think when you come to a tryout with a Kunta Kinte shirt on and not say I want to play football, it starts we all start to think, well, what is your intent?
It reinforces the questions that were there at the beginning, even if you could throw a great 20-yard out. Okay, so you talked about rules. One of the informal rules of television is if you have a good piece of videotape, you keep playing it. Okay, so 7 Thanksgivings ago, this play happened, known as the butt fumble. 7-year anniversary of Mark Sanchez infamously running into his own center and fumbling. Now, you talk about Colin Kaepernick. People know him as an anthem kneeler, but he has a career. Mark Sanchez played a career in the NFL, yet he's known for this. Is he getting a raw deal? What do you think?
I do think he gets a raw deal. Listen, it was funny. It was entertaining. It was the Jets. That's my team. So, I hear about it a lot. But at the end of the day, this game is full of physical play. Things happen. And to be known for that is unfair, I think.
And we're not even playing tape. I lied to you. I'm just showing photos. Sean, what do you think?
I think we have a saying in the National Football League, it means not for long. This guy played 10 years. I think that outweighs this moment. But Thanksgiving Day, the whole world's watching you. Hey, it's the 7th year anniversary. We have to celebrate it.
Let's celebrate it, right?
Let's celebrate it.
All right, you played 10 years, but a meme lives forever. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For being here. Ed, over to you.
All right, we may have some breaking news, Pete. It's interesting because it appears that Michael Bloomberg is launching, maybe officially, his campaign.
Not official yet.
What we know that he's doing, here's the facts. He's launching a multi-million-dollar ad blitz. Now, we already knew he was going to be spending money out there in various states going after President Trump. What's new about this is it's an actual TV ad that suggests at least that he's getting into the campaign and goes beyond just attacking the president, talks about what a Michael Bloomberg candidacy would be about. Watch.
And without health insurance can get it, and everyone who likes theirs keep it. And more jobs won't just help you get by, but get ahead. And on all those things, Mike Bloomberg intends to make good. Jobs creator, leader, problem solver. Mike Bloomberg for president.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I...
So the fact that it's saying Mike Bloomberg for president and I'm Mike Bloomberg at the end, that audio clip, I endorse this message. It certainly sounds like he's saying, well, I want to be cautious because remember, he started filing paperwork a couple weeks ago and we thought, oh, he's getting in. And then it was like, well, he's not in yet. And he's talked about jumping into the race at least the last 2-3 election cycles and never quite did it, either as an independent or now as a Democrat. But when you've got a TV ad, Rachel, it seems like you're in number one. Number two, I think it's going to be hard in the initial look there. If you want to run as a job creator against Donald Trump, who's created an awful lot of jobs, and then have the shot of Trump Tower and say he's a rich guy, you've got even more money.
The clearest rationale, but he can run ads like this that try to paint the picture that he wants.
In fact, Pete, to your point, another little nugget I've been seeing online is that apparently he goes on to say that he will not accept a presidential salary, which President Trump doesn't do either, by the way. President Trump donates it to various parts of the government, the National Park Service and others, number one. And number two, Michael Bloomberg is also saying he will take no campaign contributions. So you're right, Pete, he will fund this entire thing.
Money matters, but so does personality. I just don't see a lot there.
Yeah, I don't see what the lane is, and that'll be his challenge as he continues to move forward.
We got a whole lot more coming up. Maria Bartiromo will be weighing in on this and a whole bunch more. There she is. Hey, Maria is next. Well, look at this Fox News alert. It looks like media mogul Michael Bloomberg, 77 years old, entering the Democratic presidential sweepstakes pretty late in the game. Let's go straight to Maria Bartiromo and get some reaction. You've known him a long time. This is a crowded field already. The ratings have been going down for the debates. The Democrats having a little trouble fundraising in the middle of the impeachment drama. It's a very interesting time for him to get in.
It really is, and I think one of the reasons that he is getting in is because I think the Democrats have made a decision that nobody on that current stage can beat Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Look, I think Michael Bloomberg has a real shot. He was a good mayor. He is in the moderate lane in terms of the Democrats. Whether he will resonate with much of the country is the real question, because New Yorkers know him. They like him. They voted for him 3 times to be mayor. His big issues are gun control and the climate. So these are going to be the thing out and reached out to the working man. We haven't seen that from Michael Bloomberg. Obviously, he wants to raise taxes. He's going to be raising taxes on the rich. He comes from a rich situation himself. He's a billionaire, maybe a bigger billionaire than Donald Trump. That's going to work against him with the lefties and the base of the Democratic Party. And don't forget, anybody who's been moderate has not been able to pass go. Look at Tim Ryan. Look at Howard Schultz. So there's that.
Maria, you say New Yorkers know him, and they do in part. But they know the mayor that was for stop and frisk, that was strong on law enforcement. And one of the first things he did was go to Brooklyn and apologize for doing that after criticizing candidates for apologizing. So how can we possibly know who the real Bloomberg is going to be when he shows up?
Well, this is a really important point that you make. We don't know, and we won't know until he gets into that, glass fishbowl that everybody will get into, where he's able to take the knocks from whomever. And that's going to happen when you're running for president.
Yeah, you also wonder if it helps Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth